Hi again, everybody. Terry Vanderbeck with Sanford Health. We're today at the quiet, and soon to be not as quiet, Sanford Pentagon at the Sanford Sports Complex, joined by our pal Andy Gillham, Sanford sports scientist and sports performance specialist, wearer of many hats. How about
True.
that?
True.
Anyways, today we're continuing our look at some of the mental aspects of the reopening or maybe phase 2 of COVID-19, whatever it ends up being. We don't want to get everybody thinking that this is the end and that we're not going to backslide, because we very well may. Still a lot to be determined. But what we want to do is try and help you deal with some of the mental challenges that go along with this. Today, athletes, you can go ahead and either turn this one off or take it to a grown-up near you that might be a coach or parent and go, see, this is what you need to be doing. But no, we've got different messages for different audiences. This one dealing with the coaches and the parents, and that is essentially, don't rush to 2019. We're in a new time, we're in a new era, and first and foremost, we'll let Andy make a statement that's been scrubbed by marketing. But the bottom line, I think, Andy, is parents and coaches, don't push your expectations or your experiences onto kids in this time. Fight that instinct.
Yeah, we lost our seasons too, whether that was as adults. Our friends are often the parents of our athletes, right? I mean, that's kind of where our social circle is. So we've missed that as well. We miss going to the game. We miss the adult beverage in the hotel at the end of the day.
Right.
We miss those things as well. So don't rush the kid back because we missed it. And coaches, we've talked about this before, even on these videos. Coaches lost their season, they lost their passion, they lost their career, they lost all of that. Don't push your kid back to wherever they were 2019 or where you thought they'd be 2020 or projecting further to college or anything else. We have to be real with where we're at, where our kid is at, and not put too much on them.
And to that end, that means both mentally and physically.
100%.
Yep. So if you were a coach, and this is one of the things I love about our program, is we've got those certified athletic trainers that are always around, and so they're not in the mind of letting coaches push kids too far. If they get hurt, if they're showing signs they're going to overheat or vomit or whatever, you're going to cut them off. But same thing there, like coaches don't. Yes, kids are not they're going to have detrained, and so what their tolerance was for conditioning before, it's probably going to be less. So you can't jump in and give them the same number and then see a negative outcome as a positive. So a kid starts puking, doesn't mean like, all right, good, we pushed them through that wall. Break that down a little more in terms of ways that parents and coaches, again, maybe well-meaning, maybe pushing too far.
So we have a really complex mix there because we've got our own expectations of what we want to be doing. We want to coach hard. We want to do that.
Yes.
We have our own expectations of what the athletes can handle. Hey, I've been coaching football for 10 years, and fall camp, this is the drill I start with, and this is my marker at 2 weeks where I know where my kids are at or not. That's not right either. And it gets worse then, more challenging for the coaches, because the athletes may not have the physical stamina right now to do those longer conditioning sort of drills. So coaches are going to get frustrated, that's a problem. So then the alternative is to do more fine motor tasks, more shooting drills, more on the net time with the volleyball athletes, those different pieces. But the athletes haven't been around their sport, their implements, so that's going to be reduced also. So both the fine tasks, the teamwork tasks, the intricate passes in basketball, the 3-on-1, 3-on-2 breakaway sort of things, the athletes haven't had time to mess around with that, and they haven't had time and ability to get all their conditioning work in. So as a coach, we can't wholly do the gross motor skills, but then we can't wholly do the fine motor skills. The real big pieces, you're going to have to add more rest. As a coach, we love hustle. We love getting from drill to drill. We love that. I'm not saying walk, but maybe we got to have a little more break in between. Maybe we need to be a little more cognizant about how we organize a practice, how prepared we are. And as a parent, it is your responsibility to ask your child, hey, how did training go today? Was it rushed? How did you feel? What kind of drills were you at? That's 100% in your responsibility.
So if I can turn on my coach hat or my parent hat, then probably more my coach hat, they'll go, all right, so if I hear what you're saying about the conditioning, about the skill work, what if we supplement with a day of something that's mental that we wouldn't have maybe done before? For example, a day where it's an hour of film study, where you're looking at, is that, where do you stand on that? Is that's okay?
it should be there anyway. So yeah, if we're gonna do that, I mean that's basic pedagogy, right? Basic pedagogy. How do we teach? How do we do this? We can do. The NFL's famous for all their walkthroughs, right? The whole day of walkthroughs and all of that. And as annoying as that is in the moment, in real time, they're doing it to get some mental physical work combo. And as we've talked about before, that's the reality. When we go out to train, we go out to compete, we don't have the mental over here and the physical over there. It's all together, all at the same time, truly integrated. We can't shut either off. So yeah, teach it on a whiteboard. Take a whiteboard out to training. Teach it on a whiteboard, put them on the field, turf, court, rink, whatever, walk them through it and explain it. Take the time to explain it. It's one of the things that kids don't often get from adults is the full explanation. Not just do this, take out the garbage.
Sure.
But we take out the garbage because otherwise it stinks, man. And if we don't take out the garbage, then nobody wants to smell that. So give them the why, make it clear, and then be repetitive in it.
Sure. Going off of that, I think one of the challenges for the coaches is going to be patient with all of this, right? To be themselves, to be the coach they maybe were in the past, assuming they were doing the right things, or if they're kind of that old school coach, that iron fist kind of guy, that they maybe have to dial that down a little bit. Is that fair?
You go iron fist, what folks talk about is yelling.
Sure.
Generally.
Sure.
And yelling comes across as being mean or mean-spirited or a jerk. You can be really mean, really quiet. you don't actually have the jerkiness level of it is not decibel dependent. You can be really nasty to somebody, really quiet. So that's not a great marker anymore.
Okay.
Coach voices, right? Coach voices echo, coach voices do that. Kids probably haven't had that recently.
Right.
And if they have, it's been a very frustrated mom and dad because they're working from home and the dishes and everything else that we've already talked about during this time where they're stressed. So yes, coaches, again, it's this expectations of what past or your future thought. We're in a different world right now. We really are. Got to be cognizant of that. Need to be mindful of your own and the athletes and find that mesh point.
Sure. I should have asked that differently because I like your answer. But in other words, I can't as a coach let my frustration about feeling like we're behind, I can't now be more hard driving than it normally would be. That's probably going to backfire.
Well, and yes, but it's going to backfire double. And I say that because it is an even competitive field right now. Everybody was on break. This wasn't just first college level. This wasn't just Vermilion had to take a break and Brookings got to go.
Right.
No. We've all been shut down. So you're not actually behind your competitors. You're not. And then secondly, whatever you think you're behind, that's your own expectations. So unless you're a coach that has full detailed notes of every previous season and how many kids came in what shape and your practice plans and you've journaled all of that and you kept it, you probably don't know anyway. So what happens as a coach is we look back with bias. Oh, that season turned out really well. We started out really well. No, not necessarily. So we need to be real careful with our own expectations and what we're doing.
And likewise, I would assume some kids have felt more motivated, have had access to more things than other kids. And again, where's that line between, no, we're getting back to business here, and so we're going to go ahead and coach you like we did before, and we're going to expect that you do what we're telling you, versus also not sort of taking it out on the kid that maybe either didn't have the access or didn't feel mentally like they were able to train as hard as maybe their teammate. Because we're going to definitely see that. Some of the teammates did more things than others, and how do you coach them both?
It's going to be a challenge. I mean, there's no other way to say it. I will say, so a couple things there. You're going to have a greater variety of athletes' condition returning.
Yes.
There's always been some kids that weren't very conditioned when they came into camp, came into sport, and there's some kids that were extremely well fit, conditioned, in shape, ready to go. There's just going to be more of that. There's going to be more in, I want to say sort of more in all the groups, if that's even mathematically possible, but there's going to be just more spread out. We need to be aware of that. And we have to be able to find a way to work through that. So again, we go back to good pedagogy. We go back to being mindful about what you're doing in the moment. And the other piece you mentioned there was punishment. Punishment's a terrible behavior modification tool because it leads to a short-term fix and that's it. Punishment is not one of the strong ways to modify behavior. So, you're upsetting me, go run. I mean, that's wrong for we can do a whole series of videos on just that. But punishment we don't really want to do anyway. So try to stay away from that one. Have that conversation, figure out what's going on. Hey, do you just not have it? Are you lazy? What happened? Have those conversations, use words, get the message out.
Right, it's like dealing with my 7-year-old, use your words. Okay, perfect. And a quick reminder again, if you haven't checked out our COVID resource page on the Power website, we've got an extensive detailed list of the phases of returning to competition, including a lot of really good detail. And so don't be afraid to use that as a resource, and or you can certainly find Andy, reach out to some of his other colleagues. Andy, thank you again for this. Stay safe, stay well everybody, and we'll talk to you again soon.